God warned you 6 times, but the noise around you made it hard to understand that the cycle is about to close. Stop whatever you are doing right now, because what I am about to tell you is not for everyone. It is a direct summons for those who have noticed that time has started to turn differently. You carry a question that no one has been able to answer, a weight you have silently carried for months, and the answer you seek is hidden in exactly what you have been trying to ignore. I came here to name these 6 signs because the time left before the cycle resets is short, and you need to be aware of the threshold you are crossing. By the end of this conversation, you will recognize the 6 signs that confirm your waiting time is over. You will understand why the last 6 minutes of this journey are the dividing line between useless effort and final alignment. And more importantly, I will hand you the key so you can stop fighting the flow and start being led by what truly matters. Take a deep breath and let the air in slowly. You have noticed these signs, haven't you? That sudden wave of emotion with no apparent reason, a tightness in your chest that arises in the middle of an ordinary task, as if something is trying to wake you up. Conversations that once felt normal now sound hollow, as if people are speaking from a shore you no longer inhabit. You have been waking up systematically at repeated times, and those numbers have appeared in your field of vision in ways that defy coincidence. It is not just a sense of urgency. It is a silent certainty that the landscape around you has shifted, even if the walls of your home are the same. You feel like someone waiting in a terminal, knowing the boarding has been announced, but still not knowing where the train is going. These signs are not problems, they are invitations. The awakening in the middle of silence, the strangeness with your surroundings, the intuition that screams when you try to ignore it, all of this is calibration. If at least one of these signs touched you, if your shoulders dropped at some point while I described what you live in secret, type the number 888 in the comments. Your fingers typing those numbers are your spirit saying yes to the frequency of overflow being prepared for your life. It is the smallest agreement, but it is a real agreement with what is coming. Type 888 and come back to me. You have been operating under a pattern of exhaustion that does not belong to you. For years you pulled strings that were no longer attached to anything, mistaking your loyalty for the need to always be in control. Attention! You need to prepare yourself now. I have prepared material for those who doubt their own calling from God and still do not have confirmation. Are you one of the chosen? We'll give you that clarity. These are the 7 signs of the language of the calling, marks of God in the story of every chosen one, so you can reread your story and recognize the purpose sealed over you before the foundation of the world. Stop calling coincidence what is actually a calling. Stop silencing the sacred restlessness. Stop postponing the answer you feel. Your window is closing, and a chosen one who does not recognize the calling does not walk in purpose. More than 10,000 people have already read the 7 signs and received the conviction they had been seeking for years. They were just like you. They felt something no one understood. They lived in silent doubt, and they discovered it was real. And it had a name. The offer is open only this month. Access the link in the pinned comment now, before doubt steals another year from your calling. You performed for an audience that was never paying attention, spending precious energy to maintain a facade that in truth only served to hide your light. The diagnosis is clear. You have been applying the right hunger to the wrong root. You have been trying to harvest results in a field already exhausted by time, while the real opportunity waits in a direction you are afraid to look. Stay with me, because the layer beneath this is where alignment happens. Imagine an inner courtyard, a structure that has always belonged to you, but was left locked for generations. Inside, there is a garden that has never seen the sun because you learned to live outside, sustaining the survival of those who came before. You were taught to be the support, the pillar, the voice that does not complain, while your own essence was kept in the dark, waiting for a command you are only now ready to hear. What was silenced in you was not by accident. It was a protection, a way to ensure you survived the crossing. But the crossing is over. Now the house must be opened. If something inside you just sealed itself, if the image of the inner courtyard fell into a place you cannot explain, type the words, "I am ready," in the comments. Let the acknowledgement seal where the revelation has just landed. The act of typing those words makes the witness permanent in your own record. Type and come back to me. The solution does not lie in more effort or new to-do lists. What you need is a return. It is like unlearning the weight you carry on your shoulders and softening the rigidity with which you face the world. You do not need to deserve what is coming. You only need to be available. Think of it as an unfolding. When you release control, you allow what is already yours to find its way back. There is someone in your life who needs exactly this message right now. Someone you know, someone who is tired in silence, secretly searching for an answer no one around offers, someone whose rigid posture hides a fatigue almost no one sees. Send this to that person now, not as a recommendation, but as a delivery. Their face appeared in your mind while I spoke, and this warning is not yours to keep. If something in this message confirmed what your spirit already knew, let your like be your wordless amen. Not as a metric, but as a deep agreement that what was named here was named correctly. Before this ends, type the words, "I am the chosen one," in the comments. Not as a wish, not as a hope, but as a confirmation. The agreement forming in silence between heaven and your hearing is an agreement you will live from for the rest of this season. Type slowly. Let your fingers do what your spirit is already doing. You have been operating under a mechanism that, though it looks like zeal, has been the cause of your silent burnout. You became faithful to a past that no longer sustains you, carrying the weight of armor that served to protect someone you are no longer. The hidden pattern is simple. You keep pulling strings that are no longer attached to anything. You strive, you give, you anticipate every need around you, but the result is always the same emptiness, because that energy is being drained into a route that leads nowhere. It is not lack of ability, not lack of faith, and certainly not lack of worthiness. It is just blind loyalty to a survival system you created back then, when you needed to protect yourself from the external world. Now the environment has changed, your essence has changed, but your operating system remains static, insisting on fighting battles that ended long ago. Imagine, for a moment, an ancient courtyard that belongs to your own history, but was set aside decades ago. That inner courtyard is the place where your original voice, that inner child who knew exactly who they were before the world's demands arrived, was put to sleep. You built high walls around that courtyard, not out of desire, but out of survival necessity. You silenced that part of you so you could survive the pressures, so you could be approved, so you could be useful. And now you live on the outside of that courtyard, exhausted from maintaining appearances, while your true treasure, your essence, your voice, your purpose, remains locked inside that space you isolated yourself. You have been living on the margins of yourself, trying to satisfy the hunger of who you are with the recognition of who you became to please others. If that image of the inner courtyard touched something deep in you, if you feel you are finally looking at the real reason for your fatigue, type the words, "I am ready," in the comments. Let that acknowledgement seal what has just been revealed within you. The act of writing those words, consciously and present, makes this witness permanent in your own record. Type and come back to me. The solution for what you have been going through is not a new to-do list, nor extra effort to try to fix what is broken. The solution is the return. It is a deliberate unlearning of all the layers of protection that became prisons. It is not about building a new self, but about softening the edges of that self that hardened so much to bear the load. It is allowing your original essence, the one you kept in the inner courtyard, to breathe again. This requires you to let go. Let go of the need to control the outcome. Let go of the idea that you have to prove your worth every day. The stewardship of your own life demands that you stop fighting the flow and start being led by it. When you relax your guard, you do not lose your value. You actually allow the value that was always there to finally overflow without effort. It's like taking your foot off the brake of a car that is already going downhill. You do not need to push, you only need to allow the gravity of your own truth to do the work. The return is the most courageous act you can practice, for it requires you to confront the silence you imposed on yourself. Stay with this, because the layer beneath it is where your new season truly begins to take shape. Do not see this as a metric of an empty system, but as a deep agreement, the recognition that what was named here was named with the precision your soul was seeking. It is a silent movement, a gesture from one who understands that the most important truths do not need grand speeches to be validated. They only need to be acknowledged. Let your like be there, as a marker on your path, signaling that you have finally found a place where your truth is echoed. Breathe deeply with me. Feel the weight you have been carrying begin to shift shape. Someone you know, whose face just appeared in your mind while I spoke these words. Think of that person who's been striving more than everyone around them, yet sees the door remain closed, no matter how hard they try. Think of that soul who walks quietly, carrying a world of questions that no one in the ordinary routine can hear or understand. Someone who holds a posture of strength, but inside is exhausted from waiting for a sign. Send this video to that person. Do not do it as someone recommending content, but as someone handing over a key. Do it as a messenger who recognized the same call you recognized, and now extends a hand, so the other may also know that the waiting cycle is coming to an end. Sit with that for a moment. Let that responsibility of care settle in your heart. And now, as we approach the final point of this meeting, there is an affirmation you must consolidate as your new reality. Do not do it as a request, nor as a distant hope. Do it as one who signs their own name on a document that was already ready for you. Type slowly, feeling each letter, allowing your fingers to physically do what your spirit is already doing on an invisible level. You have been feeling in recent weeks a movement that does not seem to come from outside, but from a depth you did not know you inhabited. God warned you 6 times through signs that your current cycle is about to transmute, and only 6 minutes remain before the new alignment fully consolidates in your reality. Stop. Whatever you are doing right now, stop. What I am about to say is not for everyone listening, it is only for you. Something happened to you in this instant, a revelation that may not yet have words, but that moved the inner structures of your soul. You carry a question that no one around you could answer, and in this moment, the answer is being placed in your hand. By the end of this conversation, you will recognize the 6 specific signs that have punctuated your days and the exact meaning of each one. You will understand the single pattern of exhaustion that has blocked your progress, that effort you maintain out of loyalty, but that no longer serves your purpose. And before we finish, there is a declaration I will make about your life, the real reason this message reached you at this precise moment. You have been waking up systematically at a time that feels like an invitation to silence. You have noticed numbers repeating in sequence, as if the clock or the environment were trying to communicate something logic cannot reach. Conversations that were once your safe harbor now sound hollow, and a serene restlessness, almost like waiting, has taken over your chest. It is the smallest agreement, but it is your validation. What you have been living is not a detour, it is calibration. What you call a desert, the system calls preparation. The pattern you operate is that of someone pulling strings that are no longer attached to anything. You have been striving in the right direction, but with your heart tied to a deck that no longer sails. It is a loyalty that became a weight. Breathe deeply with me. Let it settle in the part of you that waited the longest to hear this. Imagine a courtyard that was always yours, but was occupied by voices that were not your own. You learned to be silent, to be invisible, to be the support of a world that never asked you how you felt. That metaphor of the courtyard is the key to what was silenced in you, so you could survive your own childhood or your own history. If something inside you just sealed itself, if that image fell into a place you cannot explain, type the words, "I am ready" in the comments. Let the acknowledgement seal where it has just landed. Type and come back to me. The solution will never be to build more, but to unlearn what you were taught to be. It is a return to the essence that was there before fear arrived, not as a metric, but as a sacred agreement. Someone who has been striving more than everyone around and sees the door remain closed. Someone who walks quietly in a way no one around can explain. Someone whose face just appeared in your mind while I spoke. Send this to that person. Not as a recommendation, but as one handing over a key. Sit with that for a moment. Something happened to you in this moment. Perhaps you still do not have words to describe the weight that left your shoulders or the clarity that suddenly illuminated a dark corner of your mind. You have been striving more than the people around you, trying to carry the world on your back, and yet the door seemed locked. There is a clear reason for that. You are not just living, you are being prepared for the end of a cycle. God warned you 6 times in 6 different moments of silence that the waiting time was countable. 6 minutes remain in a spiritual sense before the old cycle turns again. And now you understand why this message found you today. By the end, you will recognize the signs that have been appearing in your life and what they mean. You will understand the single pattern that has blocked what you seek. And before it ends, there is a declaration I will speak directly about your life, something that is the real reason you are here now. You have noticed a sudden awakening in the middle of the night, without an alarm, as if something were calling you to a private conversation. You see repeated numbers in places that should have no relation, as if the clock wanted to tell you something human speech cannot reach. You feel waves of emotion with no apparent cause, followed by a strange urgency to resolve pending matters you did not even know still existed. The conversations that once filled your day now sound hollow, almost like background noise, while your interior asks for something deeper, more real. It is the smallest agreement, but it is real. The pattern that has operated in your life is the relentless search for approval in places where you were never invited to sit. You have been pulling strings that are no longer attached to anything, spending energy that should be saved for your true harvest. You confused extreme exhaustion with loyalty to duty, when in fact you were just applying your hunger to a banquet that was not for you. Imagine that you inhabit an inner courtyard, a space that has always belonged to you, but you let it be occupied by objects and opinions of other people. You never saw the extent of that courtyard because you spent years building walls to protect yourself from winds that have stopped blowing. You silenced your own voice so the harmony of the house could be maintained, believing that was an act of love, when in truth it was just your survival. But the courtyard is still there. The ground is still fertile. The house, however, needs to be emptied of what is not yours. Type and come back to me. The solution does not lie in more effort or new tasks. There is nothing to build. What you seek is a return to what you already are. You must unlearn the weight you were given to carry and release the moorings of a past that no longer sustains you. The seal of the morning is your first practice. Upon waking, before any word to the world, simply acknowledge that you are back in your courtyard. Breathe deeply, feel the air fill the space that was once occupied by fear, and allow the silence to give you the order of the day. Do not ask for anything, just receive. Peace is not an achievement. It is the natural state of one who has stopped fighting their own nature. There is someone in your life, someone tired in silence and searching in secret, who needs exactly this message right now, someone whose face just appeared in your mind. Send this to that person as one handing over a key. Your awakening process is not a choice you make, it is an inevitability you only allow to happen. For a long time, you believed your intuition was just confusing noise, a distraction in your rigid routine, but now you understand that whisper was the map guiding you out of the labyrinth. The cycle is closing because the lesson you came to learn has finally been assimilated, not with the mind, but with the flesh, with the memory of your blood. You no longer need to repeat the same falls. The clarity you are feeling now is the reflection of your true identity, beginning to break the surface of your old life. Type slowly. Let your fingers do what your spirit is already doing. Every beat of your heart now resonates with the rhythm of a time no longer measured by clocks, but by revelations. What you felt as a delay, an endless wait before doors that seemed locked, was actually the time needed for you to unlearn inherited fears. You were not stuck, you were being prepared. The transformation occurring in this instant is too deep to be explained by ordinary words, but your soul recognizes the vibration. The clarity now settling in your chest is the seal that your identity does not belong to what was lost, but to what is being revealed. You understand now that the cycle ending does not take away your history, only the pain you carried as an unnecessary shield. Your journey is a straight line cutting through chaos, finally pointing to the direction that was always yours. Feel the steadiness in your feet. Feel the calm that comes from having stopped fighting destiny. You no longer need to seek what has already been delivered to you. The peace you found here, in this brief space of time, is proof that your search is over. Now allow that truth to settle in your consciousness, like sunlight streaming through the windows of a house just opened after a long winter. What is yours? What was promised in the silence of your soul begins to manifest now without effort, simply by the force of your acceptance. You are committed, you are sent, you are being led. Right now, all over the world, other people are receiving this same recognition, awakening to the same truth that crosses your chest in this instant, and you are part of that silent current that sustains the balance of what is true. The path ahead is illuminated by the certainty you have just embraced. Walk lightly, for what is done is done. Attention! You need to prepare yourself now. I have prepared material for those who doubt their own calling from God and still do not have confirmation. Are you one of the chosen? We'll give you that clarity. These are the 7 signs of the language of the calling, marks of God in the story of every chosen one, so you can reread your story and recognize the purpose sealed over you before the foundation of the world. Stop calling coincidence what is actually a calling. Stop silencing the sacred restlessness. Stop postponing the answer you feel. Your window is closing, and a chosen one who does not recognize the calling does not walk in purpose. More than 10,000 people have already read the 7 signs and received the conviction they had been seeking for years. They were just like you. They felt something no one understood. They lived in silent doubt, and they discovered it was real, and it had a name. The offer is open only this month. Access the link in the pinned comment now, before doubt steals another year from your calling.